Tonight, Impact Wrestling presents another episode of Impact Wrestling on AXS TV, taped, of course, in Skyway Studios there in Nashville, Tennessee. There's actually been a ton of stuff announced for the show tonight, so certainly a very exciting episode of Impact, especially coming out of last week's episode where we saw so much happen, of course. We saw the return of Matt Hardy to Impact Wrestling, AEW star Matt Hardy, brought with him AEW Tag Team Private Party, saw the return of James Storm, saw the in-person debut on Impact Wrestling of AEW President and CEO Tony Khan, along with AEW producer Jerry Lynn. Certainly a very, very exciting show, and it looks like tonight's show will be no different for Impact. So let's have a look at what's been announced for tonight's show. As you can see right there, we have the return of Matt Hardy and Private Party. They have been announced for tonight's episode. No surprise, because of course they were part of the TV tapings, obviously, since they appeared on last week's show. So I think it's pretty obvious that they were going to be appearing once again tonight, as is the same when it comes to AEW President and CEO Tony Khan. I think a lot of people expect to see him once again tonight on Impact too. So after making their surprise appearance last week on Impact, Matt Hardy led Private Party to an Impact World Tag Team title opportunity when they defeated Chris Sabin and the returning James Storm in the main event of last week's episode, with the title match against the reigning Impact Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, set to take place on February 13 at No Surrender. What will happen when AEW's Matt Hardy and Private Party return to Impact tonight? So certainly going to be exciting. What does happen tonight? I would assume, given what happened last week, we're probably going to see another confrontation. We're probably going to see Private Party once again have a confrontation with the Good Brothers. We're probably going to see once again Private Party and Matt Hardy have a confrontation with Chris Sabin and James Storm, and probably we're going to see an interaction between AEW President Tony Khan, Jerry Lynn, with people like the Good Brothers, with people like Sabin and James Storm. Of course, you have to remember the finish of that match last week saw Jerry Lynn get up onto the apron and actually grab Chris Sabin's foot, preventing him from jumping off the top rope, which actually cost them the match. So I'm sure we'll probably see some fallout of that. Maybe we'll even see an in-ring promo between Tony Khan and a Chris Sabin or a James Storm. That is very exciting. So that is something definitely, potentially, we could see tonight on Impact. So that's exciting. I'm really excited for the No Surrender event on February 13. I think it's going to be a very, very big event, especially considering it's an Impact Plus event. They're very 50-50. They can be hit or miss, but given this one that we've got an AEW tag team versus an Impact tag team for the Impact tag team titles, I think we're probably going to get Rich Swann versus Moose as well for the Impact World Championship at No Surrender as well. So I'm really excited for that, and I think Private Party and Matt Hardy are going to be a big part of that. So that's going to be, of course, very exciting. So what else have we got announced for tonight's show? Well, we have a tag team match announced where Ace Austin, Super X Cup tournament winner Ace Austin, will team with Madman Fulton to face off against Josh Alexander and Matt Cardona. So after splitting up, not properly, but I guess kind of, since Ethan Page has left Impact Wrestling, after splitting up from Ethan Page, Josh Alexander has a new tag team partner. But a hard to kill Matt Cardona, of course, made his shocking Impact debut and thwarted a double team attack from Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Now, of course, days later, last week on Impact on AXS TV, Ace and Fulton looked to do the same and do a double team attack to Josh Alexander, but it was Matt Cardona who evened the odds and sent them packing. Now the unlikely duo of Alexander and Cardona will team up for one night only to battle Ace Austin and Madman Fulton tonight. Now, when it comes to the tag team of Madman Fulton and Ace Austin, Josh Alexander and Matt Cardona, as far as we're aware, he hasn't signed anything with Impact Wrestling as of yet. He's just been on a per taping deal, so he's going to be appearing at, I guess, this taping. Will he appear at the next taping? I don't know. As I've mentioned before, I think Impact Wrestling is absolutely the best place for Matt Cardona right now. I don't think, not to say that AEW was the wrong place for him, I don't think that was the case. I just think in terms of his career, what he wants to achieve at this point, if his desire is to be a world champion, if his desire is to have longer form matches, if his desire is to have great matches and put on longer matches, Impact's the best place for him to do that. Is he going to get that opportunity to be a world champion in AEW? I don't think so. Is he going to get the opportunity to have 20, 30-minute main event matches in AEW? I don't think so. Will he get that opportunity in Impact? He will. He will. So I'm excited for that. I mean, look, all of the guys involved in this one, this is a stacked tag team match. Matt Cardona, Josh Alexander, Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, that's a lot of talent. That is some really high-quality talent there. So I would think this would be the main event. You would hope it's the main event. And if that's the case, I'm excited for it, because I think all of the people involved in this one are incredibly talented. So I expect a big match here. If I had to pick a winner, you would probably think Matt Cardona and Josh Alexander would win. If that is the case, I would hope Madman Fulton takes the fall, because I think Ace Austin needs to be protected, especially considering, you know, he won the Super X Cup earlier this month rather. So he definitely does need to be protected, and I don't think he should be taking random pinfalls in tag team matches on Impact and AXS TV. To me, that's just, I don't think that would be the right call. So I'm going to go with Josh Alexander and Matt Cardona to win. What will be interesting, of course, to see if these guys are going to stay on the same page. I think right now Josh Alexander is a babyface, I think. But certainly that could change at any second as well. So I'm excited for that one, though. I think as TV main events go, that is going to be really interesting. That's going to be a lot of fun to see. What else have we got announced for tonight's show? We've got a lot announced for tonight's show. We've got the Fire and Flavor Fest. Now, Fire and Flavor made history at Hard to Kill when they won the Knockouts Tag Team title tournament and became the first team to hold the Knockouts Tag Team Championship since they were reinstated to Impact Wrestling just a few months ago. Now it's the time to celebrate as Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz hold the first ever Fire and Flavor Fest this Tuesday on Impact. So this is a play on that Fire Fest, isn't it? The whole, was it Ja Rule or whatever? That horrible festival that never actually came out. It was a nightmare, wasn't it? There's a documentary on Netflix. You can watch that. When they were doing the promos and vignettes about this last week, the backstage segments, they did one with Johnny Swinger. They did one with Falabar. I think they did one with Havoc and Navaya. They also did one with the referee there as well. I don't know. I just felt it was too forced. And I'm big fans of Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. If you watch any of the videos I've done speaking about them on the channel here, I named them as two of the people to watch in 2021 in Impact Wrestling because I felt they were going to win the Knockouts Tag Team Championships. I do think they're going to be successful. I think they're very strong inside of the ring. I just felt last week when they were doing those promos, I just felt they were trying too hard, if that makes sense. I felt they were just... There's a difference between being entertaining and trying to be entertaining, if that makes sense. Especially, I think. I think it comes across if you don't need to try that hard. And that's what I felt it was last week. Now, what this celebration, what this Fire and Flavor Fest will consist of, I don't know. I would be stunned if we don't have some people come out and maybe attack Fire and Flavor or a brawl in shoes, because that's pro wrestling, right? That's what happens. Havoc and Navaya, I think, will get involved somehow. They didn't look too happy when Fire and Flavor sort of ran away from them last week. And again, that's what frustrated me as well with this segment last week. Fire and Flavor were like, oh, how do we get into this festival? Because they want to have a rematch for the tag titles. And Fire and Flavor were like, oh, the tickets have run out. And they kind of ran away. And I was like, who's the babyface here? Fire and Flavor are meant to be the babyface, but they really didn't act like it. And again, that's why it was so confusing. I just didn't think those backstage vignettes last week were done very well at all. I thought they could have been done so much better. So that was maybe my criticism there. But, you know, I'm not against it. I'm interested in to see what will happen tonight on Impact Wrestling. Certainly will be interesting to say the least. We also have another match announced. We have Eddie Edwards versus Brian Myers. Now, Eddie Edwards returns to action this week after defeating Sami Callihan in the brutal, bloody and violent barbed wire massacre at Hard to Kill. Now, last week, Eddie was being treated by Impact's physician when Brian Myers barged in and demanded the doc's attention. So it looks like we're going to try and get some real action in this one. Obviously, Brian Myers was in action last week and he complained that he got poked in the eye and all that kind of stuff. If this is the new feud for Eddie Edwards coming out of Hard to Kill, then I'm very excited about it. I think Brian Myers in Impact is calling himself like the most professional wrestler. That's his gimmick in Impact Wrestling. And I think he's the same as Matt Cardona in the sense that Brian Myers, he just wants to wrestle. He just wants to work. He just wants to prove to people that he's more than the guy that lost all the time in WWE. He wants to prove to people he can have longer form, long championship matches. He wants to prove to people that, you know, he's more than a comedy guy. He's more than the joke. This guy has a huge amount of passion for pro wrestling. This is a guy that has a huge amount of passion for what he does. And I think that a feud with Eddie Edwards, having longer form matches, having a trilogy of matches, I think could be really good for them both. I think Eddie Edwards needs to get away from the whole Sami Callihan thing. They've done the 9 millionth match that they've had. They've done the big blowout match of the barbed wire massacre. They need to move on to different stuff. And I think an Eddie Edwards versus Brian Myers feud is the best way to do that. So I'm excited for that one. If I had to pick a winner I would probably say Brian Myers through some nefarious action or something like that, because that's what Brian Myers does, right? I think that would be the case. We also have other stuff announced. We have Joe Doring facing off against Cousin Jake. Now, the war rages on Tuesday, tonight, as Violent by Design's Joe Doring goes one-on-one with the vengeful Cousin Jake. Now, last week, of course, on Impact, Eric Young defeated Rhino. This was just days after the hardcore old-school rules match at Hard to Kill. But if that wasn't enough, then Eric Young orchestrated another post-match beatdown on Rhino and Jake. This time, you had Joe Doring pretty much, break the ankle, break the leg of Rhino, or at least they tried to imply that that was the case. So, considering the team that was there at Hard to Kill, the old school rules match, Tommy Dreamer, for whatever reason, didn't come out to help. I don't know why. But Rhino is now on the shelf, I would guess, for a little bit. And I would assume maybe they probably do the same to Cousin Jake tonight on Impact. I would assume that Joe Doring wins, takes out Cousin Jake, that all three of them are on the shelf. And then what happens? Then you have the return maybe at No Surrender or something like that, where you have Rhino come back, you have Cousin Jake come back, and who else do you have come back? You have Heath come back. Maybe that's the way to do it. The only thing I don't know, though, obviously, is that I think No Surrender has been filmed. So Heath would have had to have come back at this point, because I think they were taped at the last TV tapings. I don't know. That might be a possibility. They might not have taped it yet. I'm not sure. But I'll go with Joe Doring to win this one. But I'm a big fan of Cousin Jake as well. I wish they would change the name, but I think he's got a fantastic look. I really do. I think he's got a lot of potential in the future. And finally, we have Tenille Dashwood confirmed to be going up against Rosemary. Now, of course, in Tenille Dashwood's corner, you've got Caleb with a K, and in Rosemary's corner, you've got Crazy Steve. Now, of course, at Hard to Kill, Rosemary and Crazy Steve reformed the horrifying group now known as the Decay to defeat Tenille Dashwood and Caleb with a K. But tonight, in singles action, we have Tenille face off against Rosemary. Of course, Rosemary needed something else to do, considering that Ty Valkyrie has now left Impact Wrestling. She was revealed to be the person behind the Johnny Bravo incident. So now Tenille Dashwood and Rosemary were facing off. I like that the Decay is being put back together. It's not the same, of course, without Abyss, but look, that's the time that we're in right now. What is interesting, and I did a video talking about this today when I spoke about possible Matt Hardy opponents, could the Decay be getting back together because Matt Hardy's back in Impact? Certainly something to consider there. Certainly something to consider there. If I had to pick a winner here, I would probably say Tenille Dashwood. I'm not saying that Impact likes to do 50-50 booking like WWE, but I think she probably does need a win here. So I'm going to go with Tenille Dashwood. But of course, as always, it's just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of the stuff that's been announced tonight for Impact Wrestling on AXS TV? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about Impact Wrestling, WWE, AEW, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to drop a comment below, get involved in the community. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. It really does help us out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.